One of the biggest reasons that small businesses don't get where they want to go, they don't reach the end destination, is because they try to take on strategies that aren't suited to their type of business. And a lot of these businesses, they're trying to run what should be two or three different businesses all under that same roof. In this video, I'm going to talk through what the four types of company are and how, when you know which type your business is, it can transform your business and literally accelerate you toward that end result. The reason we share these videos is because we're passionate about helping smaller businesses compete against the corporate takeover of most industries. Customer convenience and access to capital means small businesses will mostly die out before the end of the decade if they don't adapt and start thinking about new ways of running the business. We work in partnership with established 7 and 8 figure businesses to create new product offerings and business models, and then we position and package them up to compete against the corporate rivals. We create and invest in alternative ways of doing things to create industry-leading brands. Now, before we get into this video, this isn't going to be some kind of boring video about the legal structure of a business. If you want that type of information, go and talk to an accountant or a lawyer. This video is about using the most favorable business model for your type of business. And if you've not seen my other video on how to find the perfect joint venture partner, go and watch that next, because you'll understand what we're talking about in this video better then. So what are the four types of company, and which of those types does your business fit into? Okay, so the first type is a product creation company, the second an audience company, the third a delivery company, and the fourth is an infrastructure company. Now, I'll get into each one in a minute, but first I don't want you to get hung up on these different labels, these names. Each one is just a name that I've used to represent what each one does. Now, you might have heard the story about McDonald's, the fast food chain, and you might think they're in the fast food business. Well, actually, they're in the real estate business. Most of the company's revenue comes not from selling burgers, but from leasing the restaurants to each franchisee. And that they now own more than $30 billion worth of real estate around the world. And the reason I'm telling you this is because you might think you're in one of these categories we're about to talk about, when actually, like McDonald's, you're in another. Now, the issue is, especially with small businesses, is we can sometimes get sucked in trying to do everything. We try to keep adding new customers. We try to create new product and service offerings. We try to be the best at everything, or we try to own everything. And the problem by doing all of this, there's only one of those strategies that is right for your type of business, which means that 80% of your efforts are going nowhere. Because first of all, it's diluting your focus from what you should be doing. And secondly, you're just not that good at those other things. Now, I've seen companies that try and be more than one type of company, and each time they've ended up going bankrupt. And there's a strong reason why that's happened. First of all, the amount of money it takes to be more than one type of company is out of reach for most businesses. The second reason is the lack of focus. They're spreading their focus across too many areas. It's like trying to spin too many plates. And you might say there's examples of companies that do all of these types, but that isn't true. If you take Amazon, for example, you'll notice as we talk about the four types of companies that Amazon as a brand fits into all of these types. But actually, if you look deeper, each of Amazon's businesses are separate, and they each have their own management teams running them. But you can't say the same for the average small business. Amazon started out as just one type of company. And then over time, they've moved into the three other types with things like TV streaming and cloud software. But a lot of the various company types, Amazon actually acquired them. And they each have their own management teams and their own budgets. They operate as standalone businesses. So let's look at what the four types of company are. The first one is what we call an audience company. Now, this type of company doesn't deliver any kind of product or service. They are basically more like a middleman between the buyer and the seller. It's their job to connect a buyer with what they need. It's basically a referral. So to give you an obvious example, an insurance broker or a finance broker, they aren't delivering you insurance. They aren't giving you money. They're just there to connect you with whatever it is that you want. The value in these types of companies is purely in their network. It's who they know and how many people they know and what those people's buying power is. So the only strategy, apart from improving their sales and relationship skills, is they have to keep growing the network. That's all that they should focus on every single day. Come up with multiple ways to grow the network. Build a relationship with everyone in that network to build trust and increase how much money each person spends. Now, they can do that by creating ways to add more value to their audience. In other words, adding more product offerings. And that's exactly how car showrooms work. They try and sell as many brands as possible. But as a car showroom, they didn't manufacture that car, they didn't design that car, and they don't provide car finance. All that they do is just sell it. So an insurance broker will add life insurance, medical insurance, vehicle insurance, business insurance. They'll aim to be the only place that their customer needs to go if they want to buy any kind of insurance. Now, other examples apart from just brokerage businesses are they could be networking groups, it could be recruitment firms, some retail shops, media broadcasters, basically anyone that owns a large audience of buyers, but they don't create or deliver anything themselves. So apart from growing the value of the network, this second strategy should be to work with a product creation company, which we'll come back to in a few minutes, so that they have a stream of new products that add value to their audience, and all they have to do is then sell them. Next is the delivery company. So what this type of company does is basically the hands-on delivery of whatever the customer is buying. And this is the largest of the four types of company. This type of company makes up around 90% of all businesses in the market. It can be a manufacturing business. It can be a construction company. It can be any kind of service delivery business, such as an accountant or a lawyer. It could even be a hair and beauty salon. The important thing to remember is that this type of company is the one that delivers whatever the customer wants. Now, one of the issues this type of company will sometimes have is they'll try to create new product or service offerings. So, for example, a manufacturing company, they might employ a design team and try and design new products for manufacturing. And all that does is it takes their focus away from what they should be doing and making that product. The thing a delivery company should be focused on is growing its capacity to deliver. So that means adding skill sets, adding new staff, adding production lines, being the best at what they do technically, and making that delivery process as smooth and efficient as possible. It could also be adding in systems and automation, which increase the capacity of that delivery process as well. The second focus should then be on working with a product creation company, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, for them to design and create those new product or service offerings for that delivery company to deliver. Now, the next type of company is the infrastructure company. And this type are those that provide the supporting infrastructure and systems that let the world operate day to day. So examples of this are software companies. They develop a piece of software that everyone needs to operate the business or another area of their life. Other types of infrastructure company are property investment companies. So they buy an office building, for example, and then they'll rent it out to tenants. And the strength of this type of business is they have the resources to own the asset, and then they provide it to the market at a cost which is much less than if the individual tried to own it themselves. The office building might cost £10 million to buy it, but the infrastructure company will rent it out for a few £1,000s a month, meaning the other three types of company, which are probably low on finance or financial assets, they can afford to base themselves in that building. So the infrastructure type has a couple of strategies that they should focus on. The first and most important is to focus on owning or controlling more assets. This is how they make money, and without any assets, they don't have an income. The second strategy that they need to focus on is working with a product creator to identify what the market wants and then creating it. Now, the final type is a product creation company. This type of company is normally the one that comes up with new ideas and ways to innovate how businesses and industries operate. They come up with these radical new designs and business models. This type of business is more about innovation, having a vision and then making that vision come to life. But sometimes this type of company can get caught up in trying to deliver the product that they've designed. And the truth is, whilst they're experts at designing things and coming up with radical new ideas, they're rubbish at delivering that product. So one example of a product creation company could be a property developer. They create a vision for a building, and then they use experts to deliver that finished building. And you shouldn't confuse that with an architect. An architect needs to be very technical and detailed. So they'd be a delivery company as well. The property developer would have a vision for the building, but they also pull together the financing for the project. They bring in the various contractors and they oversee the project through to seeing that vision come to life. The product creation company is about having a vision of how something should be, and then they put together the pieces to create that vision. They pull together the finance, they find the customer, and they work with the technical specialist to deliver it. Another example of a product creation company is some of the car design firms like Pininfarina. Pininfarina have designed cars for firms like Ferrari. If you imagine a car is made up of thousands of different individual parts, and what the car designer does is they package all of those parts up, and they'll package them inside this nice shell, which we call a car. So the strategy for a product creation company is to work with all three of the other types, because it's this type of company that pulls everything together, packages it up, and has that end vision. This is where we fit. We're a product creation company. We come up with new business models and package them up ready for the end customer to buy. But we work with the other three types of company to help make that vision become a reality. But also by doing that, each of those other company types can also grow their own businesses. So let's look at the insurance industry as an example, so you can see how this all fits together. And then we'll look specifically at your type of business. So the insurance industry as a whole is made up of all four types of company. You've got the main insurance provider. This is the company that pays out when you make a claim. They're essentially a finance company. They take your monthly premium and they go and invest that money in the hope that they can grow that investment before you need to claim it back. So this type of company is the infrastructure company type. Then you've got the product creation type. Now, this type is generally not seen by the public. But what you do see are the various types of insurance products. So this company can create they can create all of those different insurance products, whether it's car insurance, life insurance, boiler care insurance, etc. It's a product creation company that creates a product for the insurance company to invest in. Next is the audience company, and this type is generally the insurance broker. This is the person or business that owns the relationship with you, the customer. The best strategy for the insurance broker is to grow its pool of potential customers and then find more products that they can sell to that audience. And then finally, the fourth type of company is the delivery company. And in this example, the delivery company is the business that delivers something when you make a claim. So for example, if you've got a boiler breakdown insurance, it will be the company that comes out to fix your boiler. If you've got funeral care insurance, it will be the funeral director. If you've got car insurance, it will be the garage that repairs your car. So that's the insurance industry. So let's look at your type of business and see where you fit in. So for the property industry, this can include any type of property investment, whether you're an individual that invests in standalone buy-to-let properties, or you might be a housing association that has thousands of properties, or even a commercial landlord that owns office space and rents it out. So using the traditional model of property investment, your business is an infrastructure company. Now that means that your optimum strategy is to focus on owning or controlling as many properties or as much space as possible. And to do that, you need to work with the other three types, which we'll go through now. Now, what I see a lot with this type of business, they will typically get involved in trying to do the role of the other three types. And like we talked about already, it just becomes a waste of your time when you should be focused on building your own strategy. So the first one we can look at is the product creation company. And this is generally how you increase your revenue streams by working with this type of company. So this, in your case, will be a property developer. The property developer creates a product, in this case, a building, for you to then invest in. This is where you have to make a choice what type of business you want to be in. Do you want to develop properties, or do you want to own and rent them out? Because it's two very different areas of focus and two very different skill sets, but also the financing behind it is also very different as well. The next one is the delivery type. In this case, the delivery type will be the onboarding and management of new tenants. And you might also have some kind of maintenance team. Now, the difference with the delivery type of company is if you're a delivery company, then you don't just work for one client. For example, if you provide maintenance services, then you aren't just working for the housing association. You should be working for hundreds of clients like that. The same applies for the actual onboarding and management of tenants. You should be working for more than one, just one client. That service can be packaged up to look like each client, but essentially it's just like a white label service that should be working for hundreds of clients, hundreds of property investors, hundreds of housing associations like that. So if you're the housing association looking at this and you provide all of this yourself, then thinking about outsourcing this part of the business or working with a specialist partner to take on this part of the process will free up your own resources and probably also improve cash flow so that you can better focus on adding more properties to the business instead. And what I've seen is you might have a number of businesses or organizations that operate like this. So they'll team up together and they'll create like a shared services company just to manage this part of the process, but working across multiple organizations and being run as a standalone business. And that standalone business can then sell out to other similar organizations. And finally, there's the audience company. Now, this can be any type of personal business that makes a referral to your business. So it might be a platform like Spare Room, for example, or it might be a letting agent. It's this type of company's responsibility to make that referral to you, and that's how they get paid. They don't physically deliver anything themselves. So the best strategy for the audience company in this case is to grow its pool of potential renters. And one final way to think about which type of company you are is to think about where does most of your revenue come from? For a housing association, it doesn't get paid for providing maintenance services. It gets paid for renting a house. And so its job is to work on strategies that increase the number of properties because that's how it increases its income streams. Now, how it goes about that process could be to work with the developer and build more properties, or it could be to buy other portfolios from existing landlords. So that's it for this video. If you haven't seen my other video on how to find the perfect joint venture partner, then go and watch that next, because a lot of what I've said in this video will make even more sense after you've seen that video.